Hello, I'm Tali Allen. Welcome to the Wiz Conversations, a Muny reflection on the show history and moving forward. As the Muny's Director of Education, I know firsthand that learning and progress cannot happen without honest reflection. The strength of these conversations is that they were recorded in the middle of the 2020 summer, and thus the raw truth and power of that moment in history are ever present. Rather than performing in the Muny's 2020 variety shows, 4 cast members from the Muny's 2018 production of The Wiz sought a more meaningful and appropriate way for their participation to support the momentum of social justice. In these conversations, they unpack the cultural power of The Wiz and its characters and explore their own individual journeys as people of color in the musical theater industry. I'm so grateful to Danyel, Jared, James, Darius, and Amber for collecting their voices and sharing their truths. We hope this piece will continue to serve as an educational tool and reference point, capturing the thoughts and emotions of all of us at that moment.
Are you here? Hi.
Hello.
Hi, you guys. I miss us so bad.
I'm here. Hi.
Miss us. We are here. I'm wondering if you guys will talk to us a little bit about the Muny and its history and how it's responding to this moment and its commitment to the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to thank you guys for this conversation. I've been sitting here listening and forgetting that I was about to participate in it, just because there's so much power in what you guys have said. And for me personally, my personal history with the Muni's, I've been there 22 summers since I was 16. You know, I grew up there. I'm fortunate to be, I've worked to the position that I'm in now. But when we had this show in what was our centennial season, we talked about season 100, our 100th anniversary. We talked about that being looking back at who we've been, but more importantly, looking forward at our second century, beginning of the second century, who we're going to be, and to have this production on a level of who was on stage, but also who was behind stage, as you alluded to. I think Darius said earlier, to have Amber on the other side of this, there are plenty of opportunities for young kids in this community to see themselves on stage. Not enough yet, but plenty. But then there's this other piece that says you can also create, that there's opportunities in the other parts of this, and most importantly, to see a story that's also, the story itself is relevant to our lives and to that history. So that was remarkably important, and I realized not answering your question at all as far as what was important, but important for me to say that, because that's truly what I feel. As far as this moment, it's a moment, but as we all know, it's a culmination of centuries, right? We are hopefully at a turning point. It has to be. We can't go backward anymore. And what we have to do is make sure that the Wiz is not a singular thing that we talk about, right? To have the beauty of both. We keep talking about both sides of the creative table, right? And I think that's an analogy we continue to use, but it's through the ranks of any institution, from those of us in the office that have zero artistic talent, which I am of that group. It has to be everywhere, but it can't be a singular moment, so that when you all as performers come to an institution like the Muny, you're not, the next version of me doesn't feel like this is a special singular moment. It's the norm, from a performer side and from an artistic side. So that's where we are. This has been a strange several months for the whole world. Also, I think James said it earlier, we're on pause. The world was put on pause for a reason, to address a lot of these situations. So it's an opportunity for us to look at ourselves and to listen. That's really, really important. I think that people have come through the history in 102 years. I think we've done things well, but we've also made mistakes. Like that's just the truth. And we have to hear those and move forward. But it's also exciting, feels like the wrong word to use in a moment like this, but it is energizing. It is invigorating, because as an institution, everyone is invested in the evolution of not just what we do, the industry. We're big. We know that. We're a large part of this industry, from size, from history, from impact. So we have this responsibility and a dedication to make sure that we represent change, but that we also push the trades and the people that work with us tangentially to this business. That has to happen everywhere, right? And if everyone's not if we're not all rowing in the same direction, we're not going anywhere. So, we can all do the trainings and the conversations, and those are really, really necessary. But also, what are you doing to provide true opportunity and access? Education programs are incredibly important, but those start at a young age in kids. And we all know we're grown, right? There's adults here that don't have the same access that we have all had. And we have to fix that. And those are steps I'm remarkably proud of the conversations we've already had as an institution. While we've been working remotely for 5 months. We haven't seen each other since it was cold outside. But those conversations are real and they're honest, and I appreciate it, but we can't do it ourselves. And moments like this are really necessary. So I apologize for the length of my answer, but that's the honest truth.
Your answer was perfect. Mike, did you want to add anything?
The only thing I have to add is I just really want to say what Kwofe started at first, like sitting here listening to this conversation and being with all of you and just hearing you talk. Just personally, it was so meaningful to me, like just to be witness to this, right? That is an incredible gift, and I thank you for thinking of it and us doing it, and everything you talked about, your experience, means a great deal. It means a great deal to an institution. It makes a great deal to people. Because any institution, you're this idea, but you're also this collection of people trying to succeed. And Kwofe sort of mentioned it. It was very, very important to all of us that the Wiz be a part of the Muny's 100th, because that was a big symbolic, metaphorical season, and everything that you all collectively brought to it just was beautiful and satisfying. I think everything that I know that I need to be responsible to as a professional, as a person, is everything we've talked about, creating this new future, unearthing the hard truths of the past and dealing with it, and reconciliation and changing. Because of the generational reality of our audience, it's baked in about see it, be it. I have that responsibility in every production that's on that stage, because there's so many kids in the audience, and always being aware of that. But it's in every area of production, design, creativity, where I've got to build those relationships, bring in those college kids who can see it to be it, and build that moving forward, which we have a solid track record, but we need to do better. And it's just pretty clear.
I'd now like to open up the floor to us. And we're going to ask you 2 questions. Could you guys share how the Wiz was important to be a part of the 100th anniversary season and what that meant?
Sort of, Darius and I saw the same touring company in 1975. And I'm sitting here and I'm a part of this conversation because of that show. It changed my life. So I've always loved the show. And then as an adult and being lucky enough to end up in this insane business, it was always curious to me, because I think the Wiz is like, West Side Story, A Chorus Line, the Wiz is like one of the greats. And I didn't know why wasn't there a regular Broadway revival, or why, where was this place? So, and then, there were different productions that were tried, and there's a history of it almost and not happening, and other producers changing the concept and everything, and there was a television version. So it was all sort of kind of messy. But then I was able to get a hold of the agent who represented all the authors and talk about the Muny, the Muny 100. And could we do this? And would it be possible? Because it was unclear if it was actually going to be available. And all of that worked out. And then it was a question of looking at it with, contemporary eyes, and sort of as many shows, when they are revived, you look at certain aspects. And could we bring in a more, honestly, authentic voice for the script? And that, Heavenly ended up being Amber. And then, brought all those pieces together, did the show. Was sort of the genesis of the Muny.
I think to add on to what Mike's saying, what is on stage is ultimately what welcomes the audience in, right? They come to see what is on stage. And when we looked at the moment of turning 100 and then beginning another century, we were about to rebuild the stage. There's a physical transformation of the campus that's happened since then until now, towards the second century. New stage, new everything. And part of that's to say, who do we want? What is the audience supposed to be, and what is the audience supposed to look like as we go forward in our what hopes to be a longer history? And it was important to make sure that part of that 100th anniversary season said to an audience that the Wiz speaks to very directly that this is your theater. We say to ourselves, St. Louis, this is your theater. The Muny is short for Municipal Theater Association of St. Louis. So it is our job on both sides of the footlights to represent the community that we claim to. So, again, we said it before, the Wiz needs to be one of many opportunities to do that, but it was imperative and a beautiful reality that could happen. But that's why, there was no better place or no other place for this show to be, but in one of the most, if not the most important, other than season 100 was probably the most important season we've had since then. So it was time.
What is holding back the Wiz? If you guys have any inside information or whatever, what is holding back the Wiz to be revived? There's so many revivals over and over again. Why not the Wiz?
One of the things is, and this is why mentioning Amber's incredible contribution and work on the show is so important, is the question of humor. Because anytime you do a show decades later that's partially comedy, you ask the question, does the joke still work? Does the humor, because comedy is it's why a lot of musicals, whatever they are, go out of fashion. Because after 10, 20, 30 years, the references are different, as people know. And so when you looked at the original script of the Wiz, people were always struggling with that. And that's why it was such a gift to meet Amber. I was introduced to her by our mutual friend B, and we had a cup of coffee in that place in New York. And the first thing out of your mouth was, "I love the Wiz," and I thought, okay, we're home. And all those things that I understood were a question, but I had no idea what an answer would be. I just trusted her to then shape that so that the show felt what you were talking about, which is, was just incredible. But that was the huge gift to that production.
Thank you, Mike. That's very sweet. And I'm available.
No, you're not.
Things rewritten.
Not too many jobs.
Got 10,000 jobs.
10,000 jobs. I have no business. No, you go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry.
A lot of actors are curious and concerned about where theater is moving. How is the Muny moving forward to create an equitable space for Black actors in St. Louis? And how is the Muny gonna raise themselves as an example to regional theaters across America to do the same thing?
So Danielle, that's a great question. One of the biggest challenges is an institution looking at themselves and saying, we think we've done some things well, but where have we not done? Where are the holes? And I think right now, this is the moment in history where we're identifying those holes across the board throughout society. And we're doing that same thing on a microscopic scale at our theater, right? To say which parts of our operation. You guys spoke highly and kindly of feeling support as performers, but do you feel that same support as Black performers? Do you feel like you have the same outlet for a show when you're doing a show specifically like The Wiz, where there are very culturally specific moments? So even through the operation, the outside the artistic part of the organization, do we make sure that we fill those holes or given opportunity? So a lot of it right now is what we call honest introspection. It's going back over each of our areas, our departments, our teams, and saying, where is there a lack of equity? And then the next question becomes, what do we do to fix that? We have a rapidly growing education program, and that's some of the best outreach we do in the community. And that's not just to bring art to the schools, but to show young people where opportunity in this industry exists across the board, so that when they get to a career level, again, for those of us that can neither sing nor dance respectably at all, there's a place in this industry where you can participate in the community. But then it's also at the adult level to say that in the trades that support our theater, we are a large employer in this community. We are. For 10 weeks, 800 to 900 people will work in this theater to make this happen. And on all levels of that, are there opportunities? And we're finding that sometimes that answer is no. Those opportunities don't exist. So that means we have to hold those people, we have to hold those industries or those groups accountable. And that's what everyone's doing, even outside of theater. It's to say that the things that at one point seemed like microaggressions, the things that seem like, oh, well, we'll get that next time, or it's not that bad, or there's a little bit of diversity, so it's enough. That's no longer acceptable. We have that responsibility to the community. I think Jared spoke of when you perform and all the community, the audience might look one way, and then you're surprised at the positive response. Well, that's our responsibility. We're St. Louis's theater, so we have to make sure if they come to us for education, and they come to us for entertainment, and they come to us for their horizons to be broadened, then we have to make sure that happens. We have to have that same responsibility for the people and the trades and the groups that we employ. So it's not easy. It's not fast, right? It's not a fix it tomorrow answer. But you take long-term steps like education programs, and you take acute steps like finding and making sure opportunity exists for adults as well.
Awesome. If it were a fix it tomorrow answer, we'd all be concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people can put out a statement, we don't want to put out a statement. We want to make a plan. Everyone can write down words and just be like, hey, we've talked about this. Thoughts and prayers go so far, and then that's it. Are you doing anything? And that's the answer.
And it's a lot of investigation. It's a lot of very painful investigation. And, the thing about the Muny, and we just talked about how wonderful our experience at the Muny has been as a collective doing the show. But, there's a great responsibility that comes with that. You are a leader in the community. You are a leader, cultural community leader in St. Louis. And I think people do look to you to see how you will proceed. So it's so many different things, but I feel personally, in terms of what Michael said earlier, in terms of reinvestigating that and that feeling like you have to do better, and how we find those actionable things that you implement in all aspects of it. Because I think theaters across the country are doing that.
Hopefully, everybody is. They better be.
I don't think there's no
option B here. There's not another choice.
Yeah.
And then also echoing what you look at your history, but you look at who and what you are. And one of the things that we have, like when Kwofe said, we're a long-term player, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can plant the seeds now that 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years, like other theaters can't do that, but we know we're going to be here, right? So I know if I have a kid who sees 7 different directors doing 7 different shows over 12 weeks, that kid is going to grow into maybe being a choreographer or maybe being a director. What you can learn there as a young person, what we have to offer. Those are a lot of the things we're talking about right now. And I want Black kids in those roles. I want them to see, you said that early in the call. I can do that. That is me. And that is where we are unbelievable as an opportunity. That was behind the program, our T3 program. It was exactly that idea. They don't know, they're unaware that they can do this. Let's show them, and so that's a big part of my investigation. The other thing that we all deal with, because we all deal with the Broadway world, that, the Muny has a relationship to Broadway. That is where you all, and that's the thing where in this conversation, you were so honestly modest about yourselves. You are extraordinary artists. You are extraordinary performers. I mean, Jared, you can laugh about the 7 days, but you did it. And it was, maybe no, but people who come there, we're working at this level. The humanity, the artistry, and and you all, I'll get very emotional, but you were extraordinary at that. And for young people to also see that, that's where I got to play. This is who I can be. See that we have, and we've got to make sure that is present and available to everybody. And to know, it was, Kwofe and I can talk to you about, like, when I started, unfortunately in the community, we found out that even though the Muny Kids and Teens program was open to everybody, the reputation was that it wasn't. So we literally had to send somebody into the schools to say, do you know about us? Are you aware of what this was? And then that took us a certain way. But then we also found out that it was still intimidating. So then we created this whole program. Come down, and we're gonna show you what an audition would be like.
Right.
We're gonna show you what it's like to stand there and be there. It's okay, it's safe, it's comfortable. Like, it's learning those things you need to have the conversation so people go, oh, I'm welcome there.
To that point, we hired a director of education who we knew could relate across the board in this community and identify the places that may seem intimidating or unwelcoming or inaccessible. And, she's a year in, and you can look at the remarkable changes that have happened. Mike talked about growing into a role 16 or 22 years ago. I was a 16-year-old usher at the Muny. Same place, right? I've done a bunch of things in between. And to say, you learn it, you can learn it artistically, you can learn it from a management level, from a business level. If I didn't take that job and it wasn't there, this was not going to be my career. That wasn't the plan of the path. So, our goal is to make sure that, like, the next generation, there's a million of all of us that are on the screen. There's a million versions of us, and this conversation is not really even necessary.
Beautiful. You guys, thanks for watching this. You made the right decision. Congratulations. These are all of our friends, and now they're your friends. The Wiz is the best. Let's look to the future and have more Black inclusivity, shall we?